बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन अर्रहमानिर्रहीम मालिकि यौमिद्दीन इय्याका नअबुदु व इय्याका नस्तईन इहदिनस सिरातल मुस्तकीम सिरातल लज़ीना अनअमता अलैहिम गैरिल मग़दूबि अलैहिम वलद्दालीन आमीन।
Jazakallah. Thank you so much. Respected audience, it gives me immense pleasure to host today's program. Today's book launching ceremony, The Path I Made, a memoir by Professor Dr. Tasneem Ehsan. All of you are here, and on behalf of Arts Council of Pakistan, I would like to welcome you all. And being anchor of this program, hosting this program, I take this opportunity as an honor. Because Professor Saiba, she happens to be my teacher at JPMC. And when Adi Nurul Huda Shah, she called me and she said, Huma ek program aapko host karna hai. Doctor hai Tasneem Ehsan, unki book hai. And I said, yes, she's my teacher, she's my professor. And I was so glad, so excited, because it's been so many years. And, you know, it just took 2 to 3 seconds for Professor Dr. Tasneem Ehsan to recognize me, because, I mean, it's been so many years, but she said, yeah, I remember, she did her house job with me. So, ma'am, thank you so much. And students to teacher ko पहचानते हैं, जानते हैं, मगर एक स्टूडेंट के लिए बहुत बड़ी बात होती है जब उसका टीचर उसको पहचान ले. And you know, we haven't met during all these years, and so good to be part of this program. And Adi Nurul Huda Shah, who is Joint Secretary of Arts Council of Pakistan, Karachi, and she's a very good author. And she has organized this program, and she said, Keoma, this program is very special to me because she has a lot of respect for Dr. Saiba. So for the welcome address, I would like to call upon Nurul Huda Shah Saiba.
आप सबको कराची आर्ट्स काउंसिल की तरफ से खुश आमदीद। आप सबकी यहाँ मौजूदगी और इतने अक्सरियत में मसीहाओं की मौजूदगी बहुत ही खुशी महसूस हो रही है। किसी एक मसीहा तस्नीम एहसन के पीछे हमें अंदाज़ा नहीं था कि इतने डॉक्टर मोहम्मद मीर का बहुत शुक्रिया, जिन्होंने मेरे आधे जुमले में कहा कि ज़रूर मैं आऊँगी और मुझे ये प्रोग्राम करना है। शकील ख़ान हमारे, उनका बहुत शुक्रिया, जिन्होंने प्रैक्टिकल लेक्चर ये सारा अरेंज किया। हमारी बाकी टीम का बहुत शुक्रिया। अहमद शाह साहब का वो आएंगे अभी किसी वक्त, आप सबको से बात भी करेंगे, उनका भी बहुत शुक्रिया। किताब आपके सामने, आप में से बहुत से लोगों ने नहीं पढ़ी है। मैंने सोचा था कि ज़ाहिर है एक डॉक्टर ने अपनी स्ट्रगल लिखी होगी, और बहुत दिन मैंने किताब को टच नहीं किया, और जब मैंने खोला उसे और जब मैंने इसे पढ़ना शुरू किया, तो मैं आप सबको कहूँगी कि ज़रूर इस किताब को पढ़िए। क्यों पढ़िए? कि जैसे मैंने सोचा था कि ये एक डॉक्टर की स्ट्रगल है, मगर इस किताब की गाज़ी सलाउद्दीन साहब यहाँ बैठे हैं, ख़ास तौर पर उन्हें बताना चाहूँगी कि इस किताब की इब्तिदा जो है वो अपने रूट्स से शुरू होती है, और फिर बिहार, और फिर माइग्रेशन, और फिर मुसलसल माइग्रेशन, बिहार से मशरक़ी पाकिस्तान, मशरक़ी पाकिस्तान से फिर बाकी बच रह गए पाकिस्तान, और फिर वो सारा कुछ। तारीख़ जब हम पढ़ते हैं और तारीख़ लिखने वाले जब लिखते हैं तो उनका अपना एक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू होता है जिसके बारे में वो आपको दोनों तरफ की कहानी सुनाते हैं या अपने पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आपको सुनाते हैं। लेकिन एक आम सिटीज़न, एक मैच्योर सिटीज़न किस तरह इन रास्तों से गुज़रता है, किस तरह बार बार घर को बदलने से वो दुख सहता है और किस तरह बार बार अपने घर को दूसरों के हाथ जाते हुए देखता है और वो क्या महसूस करता है। एक आम सिटीज़न जिस तरह से माइग्रेशन को देखता है और उससे गुज़रता है, वो इसे पढ़ते हुए मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा। बिल्कुल न्यूट्रल होकर, इसमें कोई सियासी बात नहीं है, लेकिन मैं समझती हूँ कि आने वाले वक्तों में जब भी ख़ास तौर पर मशरक़ी पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश की बात होगी तो शायद ये किताब भी इसका भी रेफरेंस बीच में आए। तस्वीर का दूसरा रुख भी होता है। मशरक़ी पाकिस्तान के हवाले से जब हम बात करते हैं तो तस्वीर का दूसरा रुख भी होता है। मुक्ति बाहिनी अगर एक तरफ है तो अल-बदर और अल-शम्स के मज़ालिम भी दूसरी तरफ हैं। हम अगर हैं पाकिस्तानी ज़ुल्म सहते हुए तो ज़ुल्म सहने वाले बंगाली भी हैं। तो ये सारा है, ये तस्वीर का दूसरा रुख है। लेकिन ज़ाहिर है कि यहाँ हम तस्वीर के दूसरे रुख पर नहीं जाएंगे। उसके अलावा इस किताब की अहमियत ये है कि हमारी सोसाइटी जो है, पाकिस्तान की इस वक्त सोसाइटी बुरी तरह डिक्लाइन की तरफ जा रही है। यहाँ बच्चियों का मुस्तकबिल महफूज नहीं है। यहाँ बच्चियों के रास्ते महदूद से महदूद तर किए जा रहे हैं। यहाँ बच्चियों के सामने सवाए शादी के और कोई बड़ा मुस्तकबिल, शादी भी कुछ महफूज मामला नहीं है। मैं समझती हूँ और मैं यहाँ बहुत से ऐसे दोस्त बैठे हैं कि इसे उर्दू में अगर ट्रांसलेट करके इसे हमारी बच्चियों तक पहुँचाया जाए और वो पढ़ें और वो देखें कि औरत किस तरह अपने पैरों पर या इस वालिदैन की सपोर्ट के साथ मगर अपने पैरों पर किस तरह आगे बढ़ती है और उनके अंदर भी वो ख्वाब आएँ, वो मंजिल, उस मंजिल की ख्वाहिश आए, जो ख्वाहिश इस डिक्लाइन की तरफ जाते हुए पुरहुजूम हमारा जिसे सिर्फ जलाना आता है, इंसान को ज़िंदा रखना नहीं आता, उस सोसाइटी की बच्चियों के लिए इसमें से कुछ अब मेरा ख़्याल है कि अच्छा निकल आएगा। इसलिए इसे उर्दू में भी ट्रांसलेट होना चाहिए। आप सबका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। मैं मेज़बान हूँ, मैं ज़्यादा वक्त नहीं लूँगी। मुझे कहा गया है कि थोड़ी सी ज़्यादा शमा यहाँ बैठी, उन्होंने कहा थोड़ी सी बात ज़रूर करना, तो मैंने थोड़ी सी बात कर ली। और हमारे स्पीकर्स भी यहाँ मौजूद हैं और डॉक्टर हुमा मीर उन्हें ज़ाहिर है कि दावत देंगी और वो यहाँ आएंगे, अपने अपने ख़यालात का इज़हार करेंगे। आखिर में डॉक्टर हमारी तस्नीम एहसन, उन्हें भी हम ज़हमत देंगे, वो भी बात करेंगी। और फिर अगर उन्होंने इजाज़त दी, आप लोगों ने चाहा, तो हम सवाल जवाब का सिलसिला भी शुरू कर सकते हैं कि तस्नीम से सवालात किए जाएं और वो उनके जवाब दें। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
थैंक यू सो मच अदी। आपकी सजेशन है कि इस बुक का उर्दू में ट्रांसलेशन होना चाहिए एंड आई थिंक दिस इज़ अ वेरी गुड आइडिया। और भी बहुत ज़बानों में इसका तर्जुमा होना चाहिए बिकॉज़ ये ऑटोबायोग्राफ़ी जो है ये दरअसल एक सक्सेस स्टोरी है। इस बुक को जब मैंने पढ़ा तो इतना मज़ा आया, इतना अच्छा लगा, इतनी अचीवमेंट्स हैं इसमें। और एक ख़ातून की काबिलियत, उसकी सलाहियत, उसकी इल्मियत, उसकी कारकर्दगी और फिर सोसाइटी को जो उन्होंने डिलीवर किया एज अ डॉक्टर, जो उनकी खिदमत हैं वो यकीनन काबिल सताइश हैं और बहुत तारीफ़ व तहसीन की मुस्तहिक हैं डॉक्टर साहिबा, डॉक्टर तस्नीम एहसन। और ये बुक जो है, इसमें जब मैंने इसमें फ़ोटोज़ देखे तो मुझे बहुत सारे ऐसे चेहरे नज़र आए जिनको देख के मुझे अच्छा लगा और मेरे दिल में एक गुदास सा पैदा हुआ। उसमें प्रोफेसर सीमी जमाली जो हैं, उनकी एक फ़ोटो है जिसमें डॉक्टर शेरी भुट्टा भी हैं और ये दोनों अब इस दुनिया में नहीं हैं. डॉक्टर श्री यूज़ टू बी एट गायनी का जो डिपार्टमेंट है हमारा JPMC का, वहाँ पे सीमी जमाली एमरजेंसी की हेड होती थी, बाद में एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर बन गई. सो अ वेरी गुड बुक. और ये बुक जो है आपके पीछे एक टेबल है छोटी सी वहाँ पे. सो द बुक इज़ देयर. आप वो बुक ले सकते हैं और प्रोफेसर साहिबा से साइन भी करवा सकते हैं. तो ये जो बुक है ये लाइट स्टोन पब्लिशर्स ने इसको प्रिंट किया है. तो अमीना सैयद साहिबा इज़ हियर. आई वुड लाइक टू कॉल अपॉन अमीना सैयद साहिबा टू प्लीज़ कम एंड से अ फ्यू वर्ड्स.
जी, थैंक यू डॉक्टर हुमा मीर. डॉक्टर तस्नीम एहसन, नूरुल हुदा शाह साहिबा, डिस्टिंग्विश्ड लेडीज़ एंड जेंटलमैन, अस्सलाम वालेकुम. मुझे यहाँ आकर और आप सबको देखकर, यहाँ माशाल्लाह जो इतने लोग यहाँ तशरीफ़ फरमा हैं कि मेरा तो एक सेर खून बढ़ गया. मुझे ये लग रहा है कि किताबें वाकई ज़िंदा हैं, लोग पढ़ रहे हैं और दिलचस्पी ले रहे हैं. ये बहुत बड़ी बात है. और लोग, चूँकि आम तौर पे मैं सुनती हूँ कि लोग किताबें नहीं पढ़ते, लोग ख़रीदते नहीं हैं, लेकिन मैं उनसे कहती हूँ कि देखिए 30 साल मैं तो किताबें बेचकर मैं जी रही हूँ, तो कोई ना कोई तो ख़रीदता ही होगा. तो लेकिन यह है कि हमें शोर मचाना पड़ता है, और कोई भी किताब आती है तो हमें बिल्कुल ही छत पे खड़े होकर चीखना पड़ता है कि ये किताब पब्लिश हो गई है, ये ऑथर हैं, और ढंडोरा पीटना पड़ता है जब किताब बिकती है. इसीलिए फिर वो मैंने लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल्स भी शुरू की ताकि हम और ज़ोर से शोर मचाएं, और बाकी उससे किताबों में दिलचस्पी पैदा हुई. और साथ साथ ऑथर्स जो थे उनको हमने ऑनर किया. डॉक्टर तस्नीम एहसन, मैं थोड़ा बहुत आपको इस किताब के बारे में बताती हूँ कि मैं शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहती हूँ ज़ैतूना उमर की, डॉक्टर ज़ैतूना जो मौजूद हैं. थैंक यू डॉक्टर ज़ैतूना कि आपने मुझे डॉक्टर तस्नीम एहसन से मिलवाया. और फिर जब मेरी मुलाकात हुई डॉक्टर तस्नीम एहसन से और उनसे गुफ्तगू हुई, तो इतनी मैं इम्प्रेस हुई उनकी बातों से, और जब मैंने उनकी किताब पढ़ी तो वाकई मैं दंग रह गई. दिस बुक हैज़ बिन रिटन विद, it's really written from the heart. It has been written with so much courage and so much truth. I mean, Dr. Tasneem Ehsan has, as they say, she has told the story like it was. और मेरा ये ख्याल है कि ये जो किताब है ये यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में जेंडर स्टडीज़ डिपार्टमेंट्स में ये टेक्स्ट बुक बननी चाहिए. It is really textbook material for a young generation, because it shows that in a misogynist society where there are so many challenges, here is a lone woman who is against all odds. She is standing up and holding her ground and sticking to her principles. She was a very strict person. She wouldn't allow any rules to be bent, or anything that was not part of the system and part of the rules and regulations. She wouldn't allow anything that went against that. And I think she suffered a lot because of that. There was a lot of pressure put on her. But she held her ground, and she stood her ground, and she soldiered on. And she soldiered on and became the first woman head of JPMC, which is not a small achievement. I think it is something. That's why I feel that our young generation must read this book, because it is really inspiring. It is a story of a woman, a very hard-working, principled, talented doctor, who actually sacrificed, suffered, but contributed to society, to the medical profession, to public health, and she set up a model for others to follow. I think it will give courage to all of us when we read her book. And we learn about what she went through. So I'm very proud to be the publisher of this book. I'm very proud that I was given the chance. Again, I'd like to thank Dr. Zaitoona for connecting us. And I hope that all of you will read this book, and I hope that it can become a textbook. Because I think our young generation needs to be inspired by us. Just one more point, I hope I'm not taking too much time. This book is also about family. Because Dr. Tasneem Ehsan has written about her family, how her parents supported her, how her sisters, her brothers, and the next generation of the family, how they were all so united, so supportive, wherever they may be, wherever in the world. Because, mashallah, it was a talented family, so they were successful physicians. But she talks about how they stood united and helped each other. And I think really you can say that it is, apart from her own life, it's really a story about the family and the importance of a family staying together, which comes through gloriously in the book. It makes one feel good to read about this, that this is something that is, these values and these principles that are actually a part of our heritage, that this family actually lived those and represented them. So thank you very much for joining us here today. It's a great honor, and as I said, I'm delighted, because apart from the interest in the book, I think it is also an interest in authors, in reading. And I feel that our authors are world-class. Our novelists, our poets, our essayists, and our biographers, people who write memoirs. And we need to honor them. And this is one way to honor them, to come in large numbers to their book events and support not just authors but also publishers. Bahut shukriya. I have to thank Mr. Ahmed Shah for very kindly allowing us this wonderful space. In fact, it's such a lovely space that I thought that I would ask him again. एक और event कर लें. So thank you and Assalamu alaikum.
Thanks a lot, and very well said that family support really counts well. And I think Professor Tasneem Ehsan is lucky in this regard that she got a very talented family, and we have one of her family members here, her younger sister, who is a very renowned doctor, and she specializes in gynae ops. Sadia Ehsan Paul is here, so I request her to please come and deliver her speech.
बहुत शुक्रिया, but I thought Mr. Ahmed Shah was going to be the okay, so मैं क्या कहूँ, I'm really overwhelmed that such wonderful people of Karachi are here to pay tribute to my sister, and makes me very emotional for several reasons. One is, if you have read the book, I have been through this journey with her as a student, not just as her sister. And then as a trainee, because I did my house job with her, my medical house job with her. In fact, there are many people here in Karachi, including my husband, who happens to be a surgeon, and he's also done a house job with her. So she's been part of, a teacher of teachers in this city and across the world, and many of them are professors. So I've been through her pain. I've seen her journey, and I've experienced my talented sister go through so much unnecessarily. And I came to the conclusion, seeing her go through the trials and tribulations, that had she been incompetent, had she not done her job properly, had she been like the other professors who didn't show up for work and जो कि खाना पूरी कर रहे होते थे एक्चुअली, और अभी भी हैं ऐसे लोग, तो कोई तकलीफ़ नहीं होती और बहुत अच्छी ज़िंदगी गुजर जाती और कोई नेगेटिव चीज़ें नहीं होती. So there are a lot of things she hasn't written in the book, and that includes names of a lot of nasty people, so which is fine. But those of us who went to Dow Medical College and Jinnah Postgraduate Medical Center know exactly who those people are. Some of them are dead now, so it's okay. But I actually told her that when you're writing the truth, their names should have been there. At least their initials should have been correct. People need to know who the baddies are in this society as well. Hats off to her for speaking the truth. And I'm sorry I got emotional. I won't go on too much. But thank you, Tasneem, for being who you are. And you continue to correct us, and vice versa. So don't think that I'm the youngest sister, but I can tell her off. So I will end there, and I will just thank all of you, wonderful people, and Noor, who's my fourth sister. Thank you, and of course, Amina Sayyed, for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sadia, and she was overwhelmed by the emotions. So the next speaker we have, she's a very renowned journalist, and very often she writes about the climate change, energy, health, gender, women's rights and health. We have Zofeen Ibrahim with us. So I would like to invite her. Zofeen Ibrahim, for a few words, please.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम एवरीवन. सब ने तो सब कुछ कह दिया है, बट मैं फिर भी पेपर लेके आई हूँ because I tend to forget what I have to say. The other thing is that if you can bear with me, मैं थोड़ा सा इंग्लिश में, थोड़ा नहीं काफ़ी कुछ इंग्लिश में बात करूँगी, इसलिए कि मैं शायद इंग्लिश में ज़्यादा बेहतर अपने एक्सप्रेस कर सकती हूँ. So, कुछ स्टार्टिंग में नूरुल हुदा शाह ने कुछ कहा था जो मैं रिपीट करना चाहती हूँ, दैट हम लोग बहुत दफ़ा वी टॉक अबाउट और वी रीड अबाउट द ब्रेकअप ऑफ पाकिस्तान. हाउ ऑफन डू वी रीड अबाउट ब्रेकअप ऑफ पाकिस्तान एज एक्सपीरियंस्ड बाय अ यंग वुमन. जब ये इन्होंने एक्सपीरियंस किया था, शी वॉज आई थिंक अ टीनेजर, एंड वैसे तो हम क्रॉनिकल किया हुआ है हमने इवेंट्स थ्रू, एंड वी रेड अबाउट इट थ्रू पॉलिटिशियंस, थ्रू जर्नलिस्ट, थ्रू राइटर्स, लिटरेरी फिगर्स, बट जब आप तस्नीम एहसन के ज़बानी उनके वर्ड से सुनते हैं तो आपको लगता है कि इट सीम्स लाइक it resonates with you, and it seems like it's like she's talking to you, she's like one of us. So ज़्यादा impact पड़ता है. Now, as a writer to a writer, actually, मैं बहुत impress होती हूँ डॉक्टर से. वो बहुत ज़्यादा talented होते हैं. वो सिर्फ मसीहाई नहीं कर रहे होते हैं, वो writing भी कर रहे होते हैं, वो embroidery भी कर रहे होते हैं, वो artist भी होते हैं, वो singing भी करते हैं, वो instruments भी play करते हैं. लेकिन अगर मैं writer के तौर पे उनको देखूँ तो मुझे जब मैंने book पढ़ी है, there's so much spontaneity in her writing style. She uses commonly used phrases like terming her stint as a director of JPMC as a roller coaster ride. She lovingly calls her parents' tarbiyat as super clever parenting skills. ये ऐसे बातें होती हैं जो हम ड्राइंग रूम में या हम आपस में फ्रेंड्स इस तरह के टर्म्स यूज़ करते हैं, तो जब पढ़ते हैं तो बहुत ही like refreshing लगता है. Then she shares her personal vulnerabilities with candor, जो कि बहुत मुश्किल काम है. किसी को आप पूरी दुनिया को अपना दिल खोल के अपनी चीज़ें बता रहे होते हैं, ये आसान काम नहीं है. She bears herself open to you, oftentimes tongue in cheek, I found, when she talks of her clan. And you realize that very early in the book that the clan is actually her parents and her siblings. फिर थोड़ी देर के बाद फिर spouse भी आ जाते हैं, सबके spouses आ जाते हैं. And then obviously then the children and then nephews and nieces. And that's also like a very generously, there's a lot of love and warmth throughout all this. Then she also brings in the underlying love-hate dramas that make up the extended South Asian families of puppos and khalas. And वो सब घर के हमारी कहानियाँ हैं, सब घरों में होती हैं. And all this is written in a manner as if she's talking to you, painstakingly explaining the various relationships. मैं तो बहुत गुम हो गई थी वो relationships में, because वो पता नहीं क्या words use करते हैं जो हम लोग आजकल हम नहीं उस तरह से करते हैं. But जब वो explain कर रही होती हैं वो relationships, actually is like these enamor her to you even more. And then we come to her professional life of a hotshot executive director of Karachi's big public hospital, the JPMC. For a woman who confesses to not being hugely ambitious, she manages to become the first woman in the hospital's history to not only head it, but to hold on to it for 5 years, shattering the glass ceiling in her profession. But that is not all. Throughout all this, which she confronts legal battles, intrigue, and jealousies, surviving the full gamut of workplace drama. Juggling and balancing the 9 lives of a modern educated Pakistani woman is certainly not easy. And one of them, which many of us here can relate to, is being on a perpetual self-inflicted guilt trip as a daughter and as a mother. While this can be tiring, she never gives up and fearlessly shows that one can overcome the challenges, even shortcomings. You just have to believe in yourself. She's lucky. She has the fullest and unconditional support of her clan at every step to prop her if ever she had misgivings, and even to step in whenever she needed them. In fact, I would say her story would be incomplete had it not been for them. So here's to her clan. Dr. Tasneem, lastly, I would say, you've made a path for yourself, but in doing so, you've raised the bar high for those next in line. Thank you.
Thank you so much. दर्द दिल के वास्ते पैदा किया इंसान को, दर्द दिल के वास्ते पैदा किया इंसान को, वरना तात के लिए कम न थे करूबिया. मसीहाई जो है वो एक ऐसा खूबसूरत प्रोफेशन है कि जिसमें आप अपनी दुनिया और आखिरत दोनों संवार लेते हैं. तो एक टीचिंग एक ऐसा प्रोफेशन है कि आप इल्म की रोशनी फैलाते हैं, लोगों के जहनों को मुनव्वर करते हैं, उनकी ज़िंदगियां संवारते हैं. इसी तरह से डॉक्टर होना भी एक इतना तमानियत बख्श एहसास है, एक इतना खूबसूरत एहसास है. और जो लोग प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं अभी तक वो खुश नसीब हैं. मुझे कभी कभी रश्क आता है क्योंकि मैं अब आई डोंट प्रैक्टिस एज अ डॉक्टर, मैं और लाइफ में प्रायोरिटीज़ हो गई. तो मैं आई रियली मिस दोज डेज़ के जब JPMC में मैं जाती थी and I had my house job there, then I took my clinical attachment and all that. So I was in government service also, but I retired. I resigned. Sorry, I resigned. So तो मैं बहुत मिस करती हूँ, याद करती हूँ उन दिनों को. और सेक्रेटरी में भी मैंने काम किया और वहीं हमारी डॉक्टर इकबाल से मुलाकात हुई थी. सो नाउ ही इज़ अ वर्ल्ड रेनाउंड साइकियाट्रिस्ट एंड ही वाज प्रोफेसर ऑफ साइकियाट्री एंड बिहेवियर साइंसेस देयर एट द JPMC. सो डॉक्टर इकबाल, may I request you to please come.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. वल अस्र इन्नल इंसान लफ़ी खुस्र इल्लल्लज़ीना आमनू व अमिलुस्सालिहाति व तवासौ बिल हक़्क़ि व तवासौ बिस्सब्र. सदक़ल्लाहु अज़ीम. उमा, बहुत शुक्रिया आपका, इन्होंने हावजाब किए मेरे साथ. ये जो मैंने सूरा पढ़ा इसमें हक़ की तलकीन और सब्र की तलकीन की गई, जो इस किताब से अगर आप अख़ज़ करें. सबसे पहले तो मैं आप सबका तहे दिल से शुक्रगुज़ार हूँ मैडम आपका और सबका कि इतनी गर्मी में इतनी रौनक तकरीब है, पूरा हॉल भरा हुआ, लोग पीछे खड़े हैं. और दूसरी बात, मुझे जो टास्क दिया वो भी मुश्किल है कि सारी ख़वातीन जो मोर कैपेबल टू एक्सप्रेस देयर फीलिंग्स एंड मोर कैपेबल इन कम्युनिकेशन, फिर उसके बाद में मुझे मौका दिया कि अब आप बोलें. जो बातें मैंने सोची थी वो सारे बोल दी. तो एनी हाउ, ये तो सबको पता है कि तस्नीम एहसन, पहले मैं किताब से पहले उनकी ज़ात पे बात करूँगा थोड़ा सा, कि उनने ये तो सबको, जो उसके मुखालिफिन भी हैं यहाँ पे, हमारे साथी प्रोफेसर तारिक और इसके दुरानी साहब बैठे हैं, और इस किताब को पढ़ते हुए लग रहा था कि मैं उसी माहौल में चल रहा हूँ ना. तो इन्होंने ये तो, उनके मुखालिफिन भी कहते थे कि ये बेस्ट क्लिनिशियन है. तो क्लिनिशियन की हैसियत से तो ना लोहा मनवाया ही था, टीचर की हैसियत से भी लोग चाहते थे. मैंने अपने बेटे को जब हाउजाब कर रहा था, मैंने उस वार्ड में हाउजाब करना. तो ये भी है. फिर इसके साथ रिसर्चर, और उसके बाद में जो है उन्होंने एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर की हैसियत से तमाम तर मुखालिफत के बावजूद, जो 2011 में 18वीं तरमीम के बाद हमें ऐसे फेंका गया, मुझे वो दिन याद है कि इन्होंने किस तरह से जो कहा कि हम इसको केस करेंगे. और शायद आप सबको पता होगा हमारे मुखालिफिन जो थे, जो केस पे लड़ रहे थे, उन्हें करोड़ों रुपए लिए और हमारे वकील ने पैसे नहीं लिए. और मुझे सीमी ने कहा कि आज हमने 30,000 रुपये के फुट स्टेट कराए हैं जेब से. तो उन हालात में मैं कहता हूँ, अगर सही हालात में होती तो पता नहीं JPMC कहाँ पहुँच जाता. लेकिन इसके बावजूद वही बात है कि बाद मुखालिफ से ना घबराना ए काब, ये तो चलती है तुझे और ऊंचा उड़ाने के लिए. तो इन पूरी फैमिली इतनी टैलेंटेड, इतनी कैपेबल है. तो मैं ये कहूँगा कि इनके वालिदैन ने जो इनकी शक्ल में एक दरख्त उगाया, जिसने बहुत सारे मरीज़ जो मुस्तफ़ीद हुए हैं उनकी दुआएं, और बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट, मैं भी उसका स्टूडेंट रहा हूँ, तो और फ़ख्र महसूस करते हैं कि उसकी स्टूडेंट्स रहे हैं. तो उस्ताज़ और असातिज़ा हैं. और तो मैं समझता हूँ कि ना, जो किताब में एक अंदाज़ इख्तियार किया है, कैसे कि रूट से शुरू किया. जैसे हमारे यहाँ मेडिसिन में होता है कि आप जेनेटिक से शुरू करेंगे, एपीजेनेटिक, चलते चलते. तो इन्होंने सब चीज़ों को अहाता किए हुए, और साथ साथ जो है इसमें ये ख़ास बात रखी कि आदाब, एथिक्स को मद्देनज़र रखते हुए एब्रीविएशन इस्तेमाल की, कि मुझे भी बाज़ वक्त सोचना पड़ा कि ये कौन था. कि ये कौन था, ये तो उस वक्त तो ये था. और कुछ वाक़यात जो ने इसमें बयान, और जो मैं समझता हूँ जो मेरे सामने हुए हैं, कि वो तकलीफ़ था. अगर आपको याद हो मैडम कि हम बैठे हुए थे और एक बंदा आया जो अब दुनिया से चला गया, और मेज़ उलट दिया उसने, और कुरान शरीफ भी गिर गया. तो मैंने कहा अगर किसी को पता चल गया कि कुरान शरीफ गिरा, ये मुसीबत हो जाएगी और हंगामे हो जाएंगे. और फिर किस तरीके से जब ये घर जाने लगी, तो मैं पीछे गाड़ी के लगा. मैंने कहा सीमी तो तेज़ है, वो तो एडजस्ट कर लेगी, ये जो है टू द पॉइंट बात करती है, अकड़ेगी, मसला होगा. मैं उसके पीछे, गाड़ी के पीछे लगा रहा कि घर तक पहुँचे तो ऐसा ना हो कि रास्ते में उसको तंग करे लोग. लेकिन बाहर, और फिर एक वक्त ये भी आया कि एक पेशेंट जो दाखिल किया था हमने, और बाद में उसने, अब मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहता उसका, और वो ख़ुदकुशी की, और वहाँ से इस्लामाबाद से लेटर आया. इनका लेटर मेरे लेटर के साथ मिक्स आया कि आप दोनों को, आप लोगों को कैसे नौकरी से न निकाला जाए, इसको क्यों रखा है. और उसके बाद में हमने कैसे उसको जवाब दिया. और वहाँ से ख़ास तौर पर इस्लामाबाद से फ़्लाइट लेकर बंदा हमारे ख़िलाफ़ एक्शन लेने लगे थे. और फिर हम अल्लाह के फजल से बच गए. मैं भी प्रोफेसर हो गया, ये भी प्रोफेसर भी तो थी पहले से. तो कहने का मकसद है कि बहुत सारे टर्मोइल से गुज़र कर, और इस किताब में मैं समझता हूँ कि ये 13 बाब पर मुश्तमिल 423 पेज की किताब है। इसमें हर चीज़ आपको मिलेगी। मैं सोच रहा था कि इन्होंने जब ये किताब में पढ़ने लगा, मैंने सोचा था कि सिर्फ इन्होंने JPMC का अहाता किया होगा, लेकिन हर चीज़ मिलेगी। इस तरह से एक मूवी में आपको हर चीज़ मिलेगी। तो मैं समझता हूँ इसको अगर इसको मूवी बनाई जाए और डॉक्यूमेंट्री की शक्ल में, तो जो लोग नहीं पढ़ सकते वो भी मुस्तफ़ीद हो जाएंगे, और इसमें कुछ वाक़यात तो उन्हें जानबूझ कर नहीं लिखे होंगे मेरा ख़्याल है। मैं तो उसका ऐनी शाहिद हूँ और इधर मेरे साथी भी हैं। लेकिन बहरहाल जिस तरह से उन्हें जद्दोजहद की और जिस तरह से ये किताब लिखी, और इसमें बहुत सारे हक़ाइक़ ऐसे हैं कि जो कि सबको पता होना चाहिए। और ये है कि तमाम तर तकालीफ, रुकावटों, साजिशों के बावजूद जो है, अगर आप ऐसे नाहमवार हालात में साबित कदमी से चलते हैं तो ये कमाल है। तो इसलिए मैं उनके लिए तारीफ़ करता हूँ। तो और वो इस पर मैं ज़्यादा बात नहीं करूँ, मुझे 5 मिनट कहा गया था, और फिर अच्छी कैपेबल और गुड कम्युनिकेशन वाली ख़वातीन बोली तो मेरे वाले अल्फाज इतने नहीं होंगे। लेकिन बहाल शाह लतीफ़ के पहले मैं ये कहता हूँ कि वो सिंधी में एक शेर है कि रोज़ो नमाज ई पण चंगू कम पर उहो को बेओ फहम जैसा पस चेपरिंग है। यानी रोज़े नमाज पढ़ना भी बहुत वो तो फ़र्ज़ हैं, लेकिन वो कोई और फ़हम है जिससे अल्लाह को पाया जाए। तो ऐसी हालात में काम करना, किताब लिखना, वो भी बिज़ी क्लिनिशियन को ये एक सदका जारिया है। और फिर मैं आखिर शेर में एक शाह लतीफ़ का एक शेर कहूँगा कि सुपत भरिया सिपरी कुपत की न करो, थोड़े घणे ॾींहं में माण्हू वञनि मरियो, तेसीं कुर्ब कयो जेसीं जीअ रहियो जाम। तो इस किताब में जो आप देखेंगे, जो एक चैप्टर जो JPMC में जिस माहौल में इन्होंने काम किया, तो उसमें खामखा लोग जो है कि शाह लतीफ़ का कहना है कि ज़िंदगी बहुत मुख्तसर है, इसमें हम साजिशें, एक दूसरे के ख़िलाफ़ हरकतें करने से आएँ और बाज आएँ, और बेहतर है कि हम इसी दुनिया को जन्नत बनाएं। तो लिहाजा हमें इस किताब से ये सबक भी मिलता है कि हर हालात में साबित कदमी से, सब्र से, हक़ की करने की तलकीन करने से ही आखिरत पाई जाती है। आप सबका बहुत शुक्रिया।
थैंक यू, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया डॉक्टर इकबाल। आपने शाह साईं का तस्करा किया। तो शाह साईं फरमाते हैं कि माण्हू सभना सुहणा, पखी सभना हंज, कंहिं माण्हू मंझ अचे बुअ बहार जी। ऐसी ही एक शख्सियत, ऐसी ही एक ख़ूबसूरत शख्सियत जिनका काम भी उन्हीं की तरह से ख़ूबसूरत है। और ये किताब उन्होंने लिखी जो हम सब के लिए एक मशअल राह है, एक रोशनी है कि जिससे आपको हिदायत मिलती है कि आप किस तरह से अपनी ज़िंदगी को बेहतर बना सकते हैं, किस तरह से अपनी लाइफ में एक्सेल कर सकते हैं। और एक ख़ातून होने के नाते से ख़ास तौर पे मैं ये कहना चाहूँगी कि उन्होंने जो तक़वियत दी है, जो हौसला दिया है, जो हिम्मत दी है, वो बहुत बड़ी बात है। एंड आई रियली वांट टू थैंक डॉक्टर तस्नीम के उन्होंने इतनी अच्छी किताब लिखी। ये सिर्फ़ उनकी सवानेह नहीं है, बल्कि ये एक सब के लिए बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त एक चीज़ है जिसमें अचीवमेंट्स भी हैं। और मुझे याद है जब हम मेडिसिन वार्ड 6 में हाउस जॉब कर रहे थे, सो शी यूज़ टू रन एन एंडोक्राइन क्लिनिक वहाँ पर। और अब अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह शी इज़ इंटरनेशनली एक्नॉलेज्ड एंडोक्राइनोलॉजिस्ट। और अमीना सैयद ने कहा कि शी इज़ द फर्स्ट वुमन जो एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर रही JPMC की। तो बहुत सारे ऑनर्स हैं इनकी लाइफ में। बहुत अच्छी डॉक्टर है, हम सब जानते हैं, इंटरनल मेडिसिन में बहुत नाम कमाया है एंड शी इज़ द बेस्ट। सो बहुत इज़्ज़त के साथ, बहुत एहतराम के साथ मैं गुजारिश करूँगी किताब के मुसन्निफ़ा प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर तस्नीम अहसन से तशरीफ़ लाए। I think she is a role model for all doctors.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. And I'm just so overwhelmed, and I'm sorry so many people are standing. So for the young ones, they clean the floor in front of me, so you can sit on the floor here. I'm telling my children particularly. You can come and sit here. Oh, you're fine, okay. हीरो साहब मेरी कुर्सी खाली है, उधर बैठ जाइए. हाँ नहीं, okay जी. So I'm so grateful to each and every person who's here today. I would have liked to speak in Urdu, but I know that everybody here understands English, and I have a guest from Britain, Steph, who does not understand Urdu. So I will try and stay in English so that he gets the gist of what I'm saying. I never meant to, plan to write this book. When I retired, my cousin, who's actually the same age as my daughter, my mamu's daughter, Misha, who's a journalist, works in New York, she was after me, write your story, write your story. And I would shrug her off and say, who would read my story? Why would anyone read my story? She said, I will. And I said, of course you will, your family. But, why would anyone else read my story? She said, all my friends will read your story. And then she started putting me on a guilt trip. She said, you owe it to the young woman of today to write your story so that they can find their way into whatever needs to be done to get there. So whenever I go anywhere, I'm at that age in life when I say to people, I present to you myself as a successful woman. And that's... And that success is not just professional. I present myself to you as a successful daughter, a successful mother, because I have raised good children. I am very proud of them. They're very humble, well-educated, sensitive, and caring individuals. So I have given back in that sense. I've raised a generation of academic children who are following my path, and some of them are here today, and I can see them. In fact, one of them messaged me, I'm the first follower of your path. She was one of my first fellows in training. So I'm very proud of I find myself, present to you myself as a successful teacher of specialists in their hundreds now, who follow the same kind of ethos and work as I do. And they're all over the world, and wherever they are acknowledged for how good they are. So I'm very proud of my academic children also. The patients I don't talk about, because I feel that that was my oath as a doctor. I could only do the best for them. And that I have tried to do. In order to do that best, I've tried to keep my knowledge, at the level where it should be to be able to do the best for your patients. But I feel that that was my job, and that is an oath I have taken, and that was part of that oath. But I have, even when I worked in the public sector in JPMC, no patient left my ward without treatment because the government wasn't providing or they couldn't afford it. I had established an NGO for that purpose. We made sure everything was delivered to anyone who we came across, and I didn't do it alone. I did it with all the people who worked with me. And I've made people work very hard. She will be a witness to that. Everyone who's worked with me is a witness to that. But then I've not just made them work very hard. I've worked very hard with them. And that's how they worked very hard with me. So that has been my journey. I wrote it because Misha pushed it. So I first wrote my professional story. So my professional story is very painful. And Sadia, by the way, is a stoic individual. She's not given to crying or, emotional things. So breaking down like that reminded me of all those events that happened in my life. One was just narrated by Iqbal Afridi, and he's a witness to many of them. And I remember that table being hurled in the air, and we thought and it was a heavy, heavy table. So a bit of it is written in the book as well. But no matter how you write about it, it really doesn't convey the gist of the trauma at that time of things. But it happened, and we moved on, and that's the best way of handling these things, There is momentary trauma, but you have to move on, because you can't just keep on dwelling on that. And you move on to other things. And then in fact, in every given day when I got up from JPMC, I said to myself, what did I achieve? And you had to focus on the positives. Otherwise, you could not have worked in a public sector hospital. You had to count the little blessings to be able to move on to the next day. And that is what I tell everyone. Just count your blessings and move on. So when I wrote my professional story, I realized this book is incomplete unless I write my personal journey. And when I started writing about myself, I realized that I couldn't write about myself unless I wrote about everybody else around me. And that included my parents, my extended family, my siblings, my nephews, nieces. I wrote about everybody because I look upon the children of my siblings and my husband's siblings as a commune of children. And they're all, mothering is part of their delivery as well. So hence, half of it became my personal story and half is the professional story. And I didn't realize that in my personal story, there would be so many things that people would gather from it. And when Amina Syed so kindly elaborated on that, I feel that there are subtle messages there for families. If we could do it as a family, I'm sure everybody could do it. And here my mother repeatedly saying to us, okay, when we, the siblings, would fight, she would say, okay, go on fighting. Tomorrow you're not going to see each other's face. And that was such a stark reminder that, we've got to stop now because we're in the same house. We have to see each other's face. So take your fights so far and no more and get back to your things. So it is customary to read a bit from the book. For those of you who've read it already know, but I'm just, it's very difficult because it's long chapters to just see a little bit so that some of you, those of you who haven't read it, just get a flavor of it. So I'll start with my parents. My papa was a self-made man whose life was replete with tremendous struggle through most of his childhood and early adulthood. Even thereafter, untiring hard work, relentless pursuit of goals against all odds, raising his family with dedication and honesty and helping whoever he could along the way were the guiding principles of his life. Spartan in his attitude, he always preferred to listen rather than talk, but he never hesitated to give his opinion, even if it was at variance with whatever the overriding prevalent viewpoint was. Not only was he blessed with good looks, he was also a treasure trove of knowledge on just about everything under the sun. In spite of his quiet demeanor, he had a wide circle of long-standing and trustworthy friends who were and still are like family to us. Their children are like another set of siblings. His wisdom was valued by the people around him, and his counsel was often sought by family and friends. He was a stickler for complying with rules and abhorred even a hint of misconduct. Papa was a very private person and never divulged much about his early life, personal struggles, or his relationships with his family and friends. His motto in life was, you must decide whether or not you are going to keep up with certain family members, and for that matter, friends also. And once you have decided to continue with the relationship, you must accept people as they are and not keep whining and bickering. In his relationships, he did not differentiate between kinship and friendship. Some of his lifelong friends were as close to him as his family, and if not more. While Papa was never inattentive to his family, he did have diverse hobbies and pursued them with vigor. He read a lot, newspapers, books, magazines. He read while sitting in the family lounge, oblivious to the activity going on around him, and in bed before he slept. Apart from a brief post-lunch snooze, a habit from his military days, we never saw him rest or laze around. He woke up at the crack of dawn before any of us. As a result, a late lying in was not the norm in our house, even on holidays. So that's just a flavor of who my dad was. A little bit about my mummy. Mummy Midhatara Rizvi, Ehsan, although from the same village as Papa, had a much more privileged and illustrious lineage. Her father, Sayyid Azimuddin Rizvi, and all her uncles were graduates of Aligarh University and were in the Indian police and bureaucracy. Although now minimally tethered to their ancestral village, the Rizvi family was and it still is well known in Patna. In many ways, Mummy's and Papa's families were mismatched, but Papa proved to be a good match for Mummy. The transition in Mummy's life after she got married could not have been starker. From a village home-tutored girl, Mummy found herself transported to another country and a very different life and culture. This was especially true after she moved to West Pakistan to live an army life which was still under the influence of colonialism. She braved everything alone with no family support, and this was a testament to her grit and courage. She was totally focused on raising her children with honest values while pushing them for academic excellence at the same time. Even though she herself had never been to a school or received formal education, she was the one who kept a hawk's eye on our education. Other than academics, she was also heavily invested in our personal development. Mummy made sure that we learnt the Quran and namaz at a young age. She always led by example in observing Ramzan with religious as well as culinary fervor. She was the youngest of her three sisters and had always been quite different in her temperament from them. She was confident, fun-loving, free-spirited, and full of life, whereas her sisters were more somber and sedate. The siblings were also conditioned by different life experiences, but remained closely intertwined throughout their lives and always had each other's back. Mummy was mischievous and playful with Papa and her children. At the same time, she could put the fear of God in us by just giving us that look. So we all know that look, parents from that generation. Now we get those looks. Papa and Mummy led by example. They taught us that honesty is the only way of life, that we should truly practice our religion with simplicity and humility. Instead of performing mere rituals, embrace moderation in all facets of life and not be wasteful, be cognizant of events and people around us, especially those who are less fortunate. They taught us to give our best shot at everything we undertook and persevere, even when the going got tough. That we should look upon food as a means of sustenance and not overindulge. And we are all so grateful for this. Food was never a priority in our house. My parents emphasized the importance of time management, urged us to pursue hobbies passionately, and above all, read. They highlighted the transience of material possessions, explaining that true essence of life lay in what we made of ourselves. The lesson they imparted us have now been passed on to the next generation. So for my clan, I just say a little bit. Many of them are here. My extended family members' lives have been intertwined with mine for as far back as I can remember. We have always had each other's backs in many significant matters. With so many people with shared values surrounding and supporting each other, we have all felt secure. Moreover, with widespread interests and diverse professional expertise between us, we cover a lot of ground, which is also mutually beneficial. Although we have considerable harmony in our thought processes, there are also many differences, but we have, by and large, tried to respect each other's boundaries. That's how we don't fight. We still carry on. So, just a little bit about my siblings. So we are four of us, sisters, and one brother who's the youngest of all of us. We are a closely gelled bunch of 5 siblings with many similarities, but also stark differences in personality. Individual lived experiences have also conditioned and molded us differently. To a large extent, I am who I am because of the parenting I had, the siblings I grew up with, and also the clan that surrounded me. Our parents must have had a very difficult time raising and educating the 5 of us, but I must say that we did not give our parents much cause for concern either. Even our brother, who was the youngest and an only son, was a good kid. We come from a generation that was raised to be obedient and unquestioning to their parents, elders, and teachers. This unflinching obedience was somewhat eroded with the youngest two in our family in keeping with the evolving times. Therefore, considerable difference emerged between Azra, the eldest, and Nadeem, the youngest. In many ways, Sadia and Nadeem belong to the next generation in terms of their attitudes and behaviors when compared to the three of us, Azra, myself, and Simi. Each one of us related differently to our parents in accordance with our respective personalities and preferences. They, in turn, also individualized their interactions with us. We all felt equally loved, though, except Nadeem was more equal than any of us. In mummy's eyes only, not my father. But it was just for very small, inconsequential things. So now I come to my own nuclear family, my spouse and my children. And I want to quote Zofine here, because Zofine told me that she made her husband read this bit so that he knows what a model husband should be. So all of you women here, you can take advantage of this passage. But this is who he is. I'm also describing him very honestly. And it doesn't mean that there is total harmony here. I fight him a lot. He not so much. So I've been very fortunate in my marriage. Perhaps marital life was easier for me and my husband because there were no stark differences in our backgrounds. We came from the same clan and hence shared the same values and had similar expectations from life. If my parents were my stay, my husband, Syed Shakil Ahmed Rizvi, has always been the wind under my wings. My husband is a quiet and serious man without a hint of toxic masculinity or influences of patriarchy in him. Therefore, there was no typical gender roles in our marriage. We handled the administrative chores of our family together in accordance with our individual strengths and weaknesses. He took on all the difficult responsibilities, including financial matters, taxes, children's education, and keeping a record of our individual and collective executive life issues. I concentrated on the other informal matters related to our children's personal development, daily life needs, recreational activities, and keeping house. He's also quite the handyman around the house, making life easy for all of us. Even though I'm also vigilant, he's the one who ensures that everything in the house is functional and not in a state of disrepair. Shakil's ego never comes in the way of his interactions with anyone, including myself. Which has led to a lifetime of ease for all of us. He's a devoted father who will do anything for his children, always hands-on in tackling their issues. He lends this kind of assistance to the extended family and close friends also. Shakil has always supported everything I decided to do, giving me the best advice, and has never been controlling or overbearing. So that's Shakil. I will come to Sabrina last of all. Because she's a kind of co-author in my book. I've included her poems here, which she wrote as a 7-year-old. She's 9 now and looks a lot bigger than that. So I'll call her in the end. She in America, when we had the book launch, by the way, those pictures were from the book launch I had last month in New Jersey. My brother was hosting it. And Lubna Pal was kind of the master of ceremony, and it went very well. So she was co-signing books with me because her poems are in there. So from my work life in the wards, I just want to relate one event, partly. An event related to the final year exams of SMC led me closer to my wits' end and eventually proved to be the end of us working together. Us meaning my professor and me. This you can relate to very well. One morning I received a letter from Sindh Medical College nominating me as an examiner for the forthcoming final year exams, along with 2 other associate professors. I was also an associate professor. This nomination was strange as it was always the senior-most professors of the department who were appointed as examiners. I immediately went to the professor's office to get some clarity. His response was, "The professors have been insulted enough. It is time for the junior lot to be abused now. So I did understand the perils of being an examiner, as the harassment stories at the hands of unscrupulous students and their unholy supporters was common knowledge. Under normal circumstances, it would have been an honor to be appointed as an examiner, but the ground reality belied that. Over the years, the medical faculty had taken many innovative measures to stop the bullying of examiners, but these measures didn't really work. The larger body of students went through a meticulously conducted exam, while others with nefarious backing were able to make a complete mockery of the whole process. I had found a way out of this absurd situation by concentrating wholly on training and education. I always told my students that they were not doing anyone but themselves a favor by working honestly, as at the end of the day, they would be confronted with an ailing patient all on their own. This should be a sobering and daunting undertaking for most people who enter the medical profession. The same day, the door of my office was flung open and two young men barged in. One of them was casually juggling something in his hands. He tossed the subject in front of my face. The other one spoke. "Do you see this? It has your name written on it if you come for the exam." By then, the penny had dropped. I had recognized that object he was tossing was a bullet. I said to them defiantly, "If my job requires me to be there as an examiner, you will certainly find me there." Even though I had put up a brave front, I was seriously shaken. These politicos probably felt that they had some sort of control over the rest of the examiners and that I was an oddball since I had a reputation of playing by the book. They left as abruptly as they had come. It must have taken a minute or two for me to recover my composure. I darted out to see if they were still there, but they had disappeared into thin air and nobody outside had noticed anything unusual. So this was a common activity, but I was kind of facing it for the first time. And then a bit about when I became the executive director. That was the last 5.25 years of my work life in JPMC, and it was a nightmare. And the day I walked out when I retired, I just said to myself, "Oh my God, I'm out, I'm alive. I'm not mutilated. I'm not, they couldn't harm me in any way. I'm getting out. I'm free." So 5.25 years, and my period was the period of bomb blasts and violence in the city, maximum period of bomb blasts. So I took charge as executive director in December 2009, thus becoming the first woman and the 40th CEO of JPMC. Even though I was willingly walking into this job, my heart and my mind were not really with me. I feigned a confidence that I was not feeling and walked into the executive director's office with poise and my head held high. I had been to this office many times over the years, but sitting this time on the other side of the desk felt strange. There was general jubilation in the hospital, but the politicos were not at all pleased. Those who didn't know me well thought that I would not last very long because I was either too rigid, too honest, or too rigorous. And what was perhaps left unsaid, that I was a woman. As far as I was concerned, the rigidity was about steadfastness and perseverance. You could only be plain honest, as honesty does not come graded as mild, moderate, or severe, and anything worth doing has to be done rigorously in order to succeed. When I shared my apprehensions with one of my old confidants from amongst the veterans of JPMC, his response was, "You're the only man left in JPMC. You will be fine." But you had to be a man. Not you're the only woman left who can do it, but you're the only man left in JPMC. My problem was that I did not want to just do my job diligently, but also work from the perspective of being a woman, a very different scene from a man executive director. So that is how I started it, and I did last quite long. And I think I will read a bit about my epilogue, which is about COVID and a few other things that happened when I had finished my book. which were very painful for me personally. Some of them were mentioned. So after just 2 weeks into the lockdown, we all, Azra, Sadia, Samia, Shakil, Iqbal, and Inam, resumed work, at first treating only admitted patients and soon seeing patients at our clinics, albeit with full COVID SOPs. We had to reinvent our working style in order to keep our patients, staff, and ourselves as safe as possible. In the heat of the summer, it was even more difficult to work in full PPE and N95 masks, and later the respirator. It was particularly arduous communicating through the respirator, which would render me breathless while counseling patients and families. The poor souls were terrified for their lives, isolated from their loved ones, desperate and craving for their only human contact, that is the healthcare providers, which unfortunately also had to be minimized to only essential direct contact in accordance with the guidelines. Coping with my personal emotional turmoil made life even more onerous. A strange mix of confusion, sadness, fear, pervasive anxiety, and a feeling of incompetence in dealing with this disease, which we had never seen before. My angst was compounded by seeing so many concomitant patients who were desperately ill but mentally clear to the very end, literally gasping for dear life. I love that sound. When I was the only woman working, the workplace and the offices were men's lairs. So there was no way you could bring your child with you. But now the working woman takes her little one along. There's this little distraction, and work still happens. So I'm so glad the younger girls are doing that. But we played by their rules because I was the first, one of the first, very few first. Furthermore, their predicament was aggravated by the psychological torment of facing the illness all alone without their near and dear ones holding their hands in their final moments. Counseling the anxious relatives were immensely taxing and emotionally draining, often reducing me to tears, which I had difficulty concealing. Thank God for the mask and the goggles that helped greatly in camouflaging my emotions. Despite all the precautions, I contracted the dreaded virus in June 2020, but fortunately it was mild. However, this was the beginning of the epidemic. So isolating in my room for 14 days was a novel and scary experience. My overriding thought at that time was whether I was ever going to see my children again. I spent the days reflecting on life, pacing my room, doing breathing exercises, praying, monitoring my oxygen saturation, and trying to complete my book. Nights were particularly difficult as sleep was elusive. Thank God for the only other presence in my room, the TV. The 2-week isolation gave me an insight into the effects that solitary confinement can have on the human mind. I ended up treating family members, close friends, and colleagues not only at the hospital but at home as well. Never had I faced the stress of treating so many sick people who were close to me all at the same time. In addition, the access to communication provided by WhatsApp meant that I was advising an incessant stream of people and reviewing their reports endlessly. Thus, work was all-consuming and non-stop, stressful and sad. Many people I knew lost their lives in the pandemic, but it came up close when I lost my dear friend Anjum Bhatti. I had first met her as a Professor I.H. Bhatti's wife when he was the executive director and professor of neurosurgery at JPMC. Over the years, she adopted me as her sister and looked after me and my extended family as only a loving older sister can. She helped me in running my NGO by agreeing to be the president of Medicine and Endocrine Foundation, and thereafter left no stone unturned to raise funds for my department. It was a torment for me that she died under my care after a 3-week struggle in the ICU. She will always be sorely missed by not only her family, but my family as well. Such was her benevolent influence in our lives. Never before had I seen such urgent global exchanges of medical information, case reports, and sharing of experience and data from physicians all over the world who were all in a similar predicament. There were multiple daily webinars which were very useful in building knowledge, understanding, and hence confidence in dealing with the problem at hand. I must commend the National Institute of Health, Pakistan, for publishing timely guidelines for categorizing disease severity and steps to be taken in each category of disease. This was very helpful in streamlining care and bringing uniformity in the management of COVID cases. Subsequently, multiple iterations were published online as new evidence emerged from all over the world. The year 2020 was sad and stressful for me on another count as well. My very close friend, Dr. Simi Jamali, who was like a younger sister to me, her husband, Dr. Jamali, is here, was diagnosed with colon cancer when she developed acute intestinal obstruction. The timing of this illness could not have been more inopportune for her, as her husband, Professor A.R. Jamali, was also fighting for his life in the ICU with severe COVID pneumonia concomitantly. Simi took her diagnosis in her stride as only she could have done. The courage with which she faced her illness and braced herself for the protracted chemotherapy was commendable. She carried on with her professional work throughout her treatment. Thank God her husband made it home, albeit with prolonged residual effects on his lung function. Simi's chemotherapy continued intermittently in 2020 and 2021. She required major surgeries and radiotherapy as well. She faced all this with exemplary courage, but eventually succumbed to her cancer in May 2023. Simi left a huge void not only in the lives of her close family and friends, but also innumerable people whose lives she had touched with great compassion and empathy during the course of her professional work in the A&E of JPMC. She was a pillar of strength for me and my family. Her generosity and capacity to love was boundless. Gone too soon, my friend. Rest in peace till we meet again in another eternal life in heaven, inshallah. The last half of 2022 was full of difficulties and sadness. My friend, Professor Hassan Aziz, passed away in August 2022 of COVID-related complications. He had held my hand through much of my checkered professional life at JPMC. He was a wise man with a gentle soul who left an indelible mark in raising awareness about epilepsy and its treatment in Pakistan. He will always be sorely missed by me and my family. At home, Apa Mi's condition increasingly bespoke of an imminent end. Apa Mi was my khala and my mother-in-law. My second mother, my rock, left for her heavenly abode on 25th October 2022. Although my house is now devoid of her blessed presence, she is finally released from her protracted suffering. A long life of severe adversity lived with utmost grace, humility, courage, and utmost love for everyone around her, and complete servitude to God. She held the fort for me and helped me in every possible way to raise my children. Goodbye, Apa Mi, till we meet again, inshallah. Hopefully in heaven, because I know you will vouch for me. With her gone, my home has lost its soul. So that's all I'm going to read. And I now request Miss Sabrina Evelyn Noon, my only grandchild who's visiting from Philadelphia for a very brief while, to read her poems. Come on, Jani. So Sabrina studies in a very progressive school where they learn through research. And her research project was to study nests. And therefore, she wrote a poem about nests. And the other title she had for her poem is In My Heart Lives, which she doesn't want to read. So I'll read In My Heart Lives, because for some reason she doesn't want to read this one. So in her heart lives one sunshine, 7 rainbows, 5 drops of honey. This is written between 6 and 7 years of age. 5 drops of honey, my family, my friends, 50 Pokemon cards, my teachers, my imagination, my school, and 5 fireflies. A peculiar number, 5 fireflies. So she will read her poem called The Nest. The Nest.
Gentle like glass, safe like a house, different like us, crafty like art, Messy like people, warm like the sun, big and small like animals, nests are like the clouds, soft like stuffing.
Thank you. So here's my co-author. And I've ended this chapter saying, may everything that lives in her heart be fulfilled to her heart's content. May God bestow Sabrina with a long, fulfilling, happy, and healthy life. And may she always be a source of joy for her family, friends, and all the people around her. Okay? So with that, I would like to end by thanking all of you wonderful people. And I'm so sorry many of you are standing for being here, for being here, and your support means so much to me, and all the wonderful things that have been said about me in my book. I'm grateful to Ahmed Shah Saab from the Arts Council. I'm really grateful to Noor, who's like a sister to me, and she has arranged all this. And I'm very grateful to Amina Sayyed for believing in me and, for being there to publish this, and all the wonderful people who are here attending this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Dr. Tasneem, can I ask you to hold on for a second and kindly present this book to the President, Arts Council of Pakistan, Karachi, Mr. Ahmed Shah, Hilal Imtiaz, Sitare Imtiaz, to formally launch. This book, The Path I Made, a memoir by Professor Dr. Tasneem Ehsan. Also, here is a bouquet. The President, Arts Council of Pakistan, Karachi, Mr. Ahmed Shah, is presenting bouquet to Professor Tasneem Ehsan. Thank you. And I would like to request the President to say thank you to everyone. Shah Sahab, you want to say something?
Actually, डॉक्टर तस्नीम की इतनी ज़बरदस्त, लेकिन मैं सोच रहा था कि ये सारी किताब पढ़ लेंगी तो फिर ख़रीदेगा कौन किताब। तो मैं चाहता था कि थोड़े से कुछ सफ़े रह जाएं, क्योंकि सारी लाइफ स्टोरीज़ तो इन्होंने सुना दी। तो मैं बल्कि बीच में आवाज़ भी लगाने लगा था कि डॉक्टर तस्नीम थोड़े से लोगों के पढ़ने के लिए छोड़ दें। तो मैं बहुत सारे मेरे ज़ाती दोस्त भी हैं और मेंटोर भी हैं, डॉक्टर्स भी हैं, इतने सारे लोग बैठे हैं, तो मैं आपको इतनी ज़हमत नहीं दूंगा कि मैं सबके नाम लूं। बट ये इतने शानदार लोगों की एक गैलेक्सी अमीना सैयद साहिबा ने जमा की है और डॉक्टर तस्नीम ने, तो मैं बड़ा शुक्रगुजार हूँ अमीना सैयद साहिबा को कभी कि इतनी ज़बरदस्त और बहुत अच्छा काम कर रही हैं। लाइटस्टोन इनका जो पब्लिशिंग हाउस है, और ये इस तरह की डिफरेंट किताबें छापती हैं। तो इस बहाने आप सब लोग आर्ट्स काउंसिल आए, आधे से ज़्यादा आप आर्ट्स काउंसिल के मेंबर भी, एंड यू नो आर्ट्स काउंसिल। सो आप सबको का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया कि आप यहाँ तशरीफ़ लाए और डॉक्टर तस्नीम की लाइफ स्टोरी। और मैं हैरान था कि एक ऐसा डॉक्टर कि जिसकी ज़िंदगी में कोई वर्ल्ड वॉर नहीं हुई, कोई ऐसा वाक़या नहीं हुआ, एक आम इंसानी रिश्ते और अपनी प्रोफेशनल लाइफ को किस तरह से एलुब्रेट करके एक इंटरेस्टिंग किताब बना सकती हैं। तो जितना हमने सुना, सो आई थिंक अब आपको इसको एक अनवाइंड करके, अदर देन योर प्रोफेशन एंड फैमिली, आप एक वो सब लिखें जो आप इमेजिन कर सकती हैं कि अगर आप डॉक्टर ना होती तो क्या होती, अगर आप शकील की बीवी ना होती तो क्या करती। हाँ, वो सारी जो विश लिस्ट है आपकी, या वो सारे, जैसे राशिद ने कहा कि इश्क़ अज़लगीर व अब्बताब मेरे भी हैं कुछ ख्वाब, फिर जिस तरह से आपने अपने शौहर के बारे में कहा, आप सबको पता है कि बड़ा गैर फितरी सा रिश्ता है ये, और सारी ज़िंदगी आप एक दूसरे के साथ खुश रहे। वहाँ मुझे और नूर हुदा शाह को डाउट हुआ कि थोड़ा सा सच लिखने से रह गया आपसे। तो खैर, रिश्तों के एहतराम में सच लिखने से रहना भी चाहिए, क्योंकि रिश्ते ज़्यादा मैटर करते हैं और सच पे कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ किया जा सकता है। हम सारी उम्र करते ही रहें सच पे कॉम्प्रोमाइज़, और अब वी आर हैबिचुअल। तो खैर, आप सबका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया कि आप सब तशरीफ़ लाए। थैंक यू सो मच। शुक्रिया।